A very good day to everyone who's tuning in. Thank you so much for having me. First and foremost, I would like to begin by thanking the PCA ECN team, my favorite conference organizers in the entire world. Thank you for always creating such an accessible and friendly space for us to come and talk about very interesting ideas which might not see the day were it not for accessible safe spaces like RAM 2021. And I would just like to say that I'm sorry that I'm shooting this on my phone. Welcome to my amateur hour of trying to being a YouTuber. And I'm just going to try and present my ideas best as I can. So, my name is Devika, and I'm a PhD scholar at Jawaharlal Nehru University in New Delhi, and I study Latin American integration. So, this paper is very different from my normal research. But last year, at in fact the last ECN conference that we had in 2020 before the internet, I was on a wonderful panel with the excellent Ellen, and she was presenting a paper on her upcoming book on celebrity activism, how feminism kind of plays into it, which sort of gave me the motivation to study something which happened during the pandemic in India. And this was after the death of a very famous Bollywood actor by the name of Sushant Singh Rajput. Allegedly, and I say allegedly because this is still under investigation, he had committed suicide. What followed was a media trial, and I'm going to kind of give you a little bit of background before I go into my questions. But it sort of captured the Indian imagination during the pandemic as very little else did. Sometimes even to the woe of the depressed and the marginalized in the country. But this media spectacle that sort of happened um, was that I was really curious to kind of understand the complicated gender, class, and even caste connotations that it sort of threw up in very high relief. I'm curious to understand how this interplay between these three categories functioned as a tool to distract and diffuse pandemic related stresses, especially in how it weaponized existing inequities and social biases. It is a very new paper. I mean, I wouldn't even say it's a working paper right now. It's a proposal that I'm sort of, still thinking through. So ideas about methodology are especially useful, and please do leave your suggestions in the comments. So now let me just try and give you a little bit of background about why this was so interesting. 2020 in India was marked by several crises, like the rest of the world. Several excesses of power, human and social tragedies, as well as movements of resilience and fighting back, which really drew international attention. Before the pandemic had started, we were kind of going through the Citizenship Amendment Act protests, which were summarily dismantled, when in this conversation of trying to prevent the COVID crisis spreading far and wide. And by the end of 2020, we were seeing the biggest farmers protest, which is still ongoing. But most visibly, especially during the early pandemic, were heartbreaking scenes of the migrant worker exodus from urban centers, almost with little to no state support for getting them back home. Generally, these migrant workers were traveling on foot, and amidst vehement propaganda against their audacity to dislocate, as it were, in more contentious circles. And it really exposed the deep inequality of surviving the pandemic in India. And, the uneasy acceptance by an increasingly polarized populace of this divide. Then, on June 14th, Sushant Singh Rajput was found lifeless in his apartment in Mumbai, and all initial assessments suggested that he had committed suicide. There was very little to suggest that he had not really taken his own life. Allegedly, again, I say allegedly because what would soon emerge would be the creation of a theory that would captivate India as the migrant crisis, the increasing number of farmers' deaths that would follow this scandal, The crisis of the economy and even the ongoing farmers' protests could not effectively do. And as one researcher, Paul, suggests, one man's tragedy has helped us forget 2020 in small measures. It was a fascinating and oftentimes gruesome tale of ambition, of dreams, drugs, Bollywood, social inequality, fighting back, fighting against the system, defining the system in a very, very narrow way, which sort of captivated the Indian public. So Sushant Singh was a much beloved, highly paid, male, upper caste public figure who was simultaneously an outsider and one who succeeded in a system that was stacked against him. The metaphors were obvious and much repeated. A nepotistic, antagonistic, and cruel Indian film industry which serves to oppress any and all who wish to make it in the more democratic space of living out your dreams and following your merit. In all its grandiose corruption was pitted against a talented, good values, son of the soil artiste, with brains to spare, charm to gladden the heart of the Indian middle class, and a scientific temper to boot, something which was made much of, his interest in astronomy, who made it despite the duress, who succeeded despite the system being stacked against him. Not only was Sushant academic, he was wholesome. He was approachable, he could seemingly excel in the murky waters of the dreamland, and yet he remained untainted. Despite being a part of the film industry, he stood apart because of his moral values, because of his accessibility, because of his purity almost, in a way, in that he never really belonged to Bollywood, which ultimately led to his demise. He was a representative for meritorious crusaders, and this conversation about merit is very important in India. Meritorious crusaders, most famously like the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi himself, a self-made man, a man of values, a man of merit, so blinding it could dismantle elite corruption of Bollywood that had never lent him a helping hand, that only preyed on the innocent, that ultimately fell the resilience that he had mounted. He just could not keep up with the evil that this industry spewed against him. And I say this so dramatically because this is how it was presented in flashing, never-ending news cycles. There was no privacy given to his family to mourn. The kind of images that were flashed on national television were abhorrent. And yet the news cycle continued, news stories continued. The nation, as it were, really, really wanted to know. And this is one of our really famous news channels, where the tagline is "The nation wants to know." The idea was that this designer brand wearing English speaking production house that talked about it being all in the family and the hollowness of it all could be likened to the Indian National Congress. That only ate away at honest attempts to do better, at honest attempts to change, that only dismantled the individualism of achievers. And as the report suggests, the debates, the WhatsApp jokes that soon followed after the conversation on mental health had died rather quickly, soon made these comparisons very, very common and well placed in the Indian psyche. So, while there were plenty of debates which were begun by this truly untimely death of a much loved star, um, the way it shifted, the way the story moved was very, very interesting. And various researchers have written about this. There were various op-ed pieces written about this, the weaponization of Sushant Singh Rajput's death, the difficulty of really understanding film journalism, the sensationalist film journalism totally corrupting all sort of journalistic integrity, to the extent that Bollywood witch trials were carried out by major media houses, and they have finally had to come up with an apology almost a full year later. Um, and politicians, elites, the public, celebrity figures in every sphere were talking about this death. Everybody had a story to spin. And very interestingly, the suicide didn't really remain a suicide. It became a much larger conversation very, very quickly. So, most importantly, was how the story of the ill fated demise of man, and man I say here with a capital M, a Maryada Purushottam, which to the best of my ability I can translate as, as the ideal man. In this age of greed, corruption, excess, came to involve women, which is where I'm interested in this topic. While everyone had a different story to spin, there were several women that became a party to the demise of Sushant Singh and its televised, creation, as it were. The crusading vigilantes like media person Navika Kumar and the acclaimed but controversial actress Kangana Ranaut, to the perpetrators of this fall of man, Riya Chakrabarti, who was his partner, and Deepika Padukone, a very, very famous and A-list Bollywood actress, among other established actresses, again, belonging to that elite system of Bollywood, who were sort of, embroiled in I would say, what kind of fell out of the bag as these controversies kept being spun, kept being repeated, kept being consumed. So, this paper ultimately hopes to untangle three major questions. First and foremost, Kangana Ranaut and her nepotism merit debate, her continued insistence on her stance as an outspoken nationalist, and thereby, very vocally a BJP supporter, um, and how this is based on her credentials as a talented actress who has earlier employed various feminist rhetoric to position herself as an independent and capable woman, and who employs her prestige and position to to post virulently controversial content, to put it mildly, and I am putting it very mildly, against any and all factions of society that may oppose her strong views on film, politics, and nation. This idea that she is again like Sushant, this woman who succeeded despite all odds and continues to be victimized by the systems that just won't let her be, and her bravery in fighting against the system, her acumen in exposing the system to the rest of us. How is it consumed by the country? And the trajectory in which she kind of came to occupy this vigilante position is also very, very interesting, because you would have the same liberal faction in English speaking Indian journalism really holding her up as somebody who knew what she was talking about, this new age woman who called out sexism in Bollywood, especially, uh, and now obviously has a big problem with, because she talked about very important issues that most Indian film actresses really did not talk about. There was a bravery to, there was a sense of courage to her entire persona, and how that has led her to occupy this position of privilege, which she now uses to perpetuate deeply problematic ideas. Um, how does she employ her positionality as a quintessential Savarna woman in the merit nepotism debate to reinforce anti caste narratives? And this question of merit is, it has got a deeply caste connotation in Indian case. And what are the narratives that prop up her celebrity activism? Secondly, the demonization of Riya Chakrabarti as this, the man eater, this gold digging, less successful, jealous, manipulative partner who preyed upon the vulnerability of an impeccable man of character in his lowest moment. How does her media trial and then her exoneration from the courts at least, how does that play into perpetuating patriarchal notions of controlling women? What are the identifiable narratives of sexism employed against women in power, say cricketers' wives being blamed for their losses in important matches? And how much does this tie in with Brahmanical patriarchy, its notions of brahmacharya or celibacy, male celibacy, being responsible for a man's power and man's position? And what does it really mean to be a successful woman in a Brahmanical patriarchal world? Is it even possible in any way in the new iterations that we have of this deeply misogynistic system of thought? Could she, Riya Chakrabarti, I mean, could she recover her agency at all? And what would such a recovery look like? Finally, the third question that I want to talk about is the vilification of supposedly, liberal Deepika Padukone, another outsider, but one with clout, one whose class position and success enabled her to gain immense success in a very, very competitive industry. One who got the big breaks, one who made the big bucks, one who climbed the ladder, one who has a fan following that any actress born into the film industry would be envious of. How was her vilification as an immoral modern woman who did drugs? How was that used to almost punish her minor acts of speaking up on issues of sexism in the industry? And even a stance against the right wing when she visited Jawaharlal Nehru University in early 2020 after it was attacked by goons, if only to promote her film. In what ways did the media trial against violators and persecutors of Sushant spill into her life, and how did it attempt to domesticate her? So, these are a few of the ideas that I'm trying to delineate and work with in this paper. Um, it should have been further along than it is currently, but the pandemic. I think I'm very excited to write this because it's a very interesting topic to be thinking about. Any ideas on methodology, any questions that you might have would be really, really welcome. Thank you so much. I'm very glad to be a part of this panel, and congratulations to all my co-presenters. Thank you so much.